coming up to the election, the environment is a pretty big issue. So you've the Greens have a pretty strong policy, and you've said that you'll use renewable energy. If we did that, would there be enough to support like Brisbane, or would it work in conjunction with other energy?
Absolutely. Research has showed that the Greens research has showed that our policy is absolutely achievable, that focusing on renewable energy, which is fundamental in this time of climate change, and I think climate change is the biggest threat that we will face in Brisbane and in the world. Focusing on this electorate and in Brisbane, the renewable energy is an absolutely realistic target. The Greens have launched, Christine Milne, who's the Senator in Tasmania, has recently launched a policy where the Greens propose to put a solar panel on every roof in Australia. Now, the cost saving through lower subsidies and putting power back to the grid from that would pay for itself in about 6 months, I think the research shows. So it is absolutely achievable. And I think what's really important is that at the moment, the focus is on the consumer paying for those things, when really I think that's a very narrow view of the fact that this is an Australia-wide issue that our governments need to tackle, and that renewable energy and indeed our water resources really need to be tackled by our governments, and they need to start locally to be able to spread across our entire country.
Yeah, Brisbane's on some pretty strict water restrictions, so do you have any policies that would sort of help that or get us more water somehow?
Obviously, we're completely opposed to the dam at the Traveston crossing. I actually have friends who live up in the Traveston area, and when I go up there, it's incredibly heartbreaking and depressing just to see that this mega dam is seen as the only way to solve our water problem. I think the Greens have fundamental policies that talk about and that will implement and achieve water recycling, stormwater use. We see megalitres of stormwater rushing down our streets that can be recycled, harvested, reused. And added to that is just the simple act of putting a rainwater tank in every single backyard in Australia. And having it plumbed into your house. I think it's one thing to have your rainwater tank sitting there, but it needs to be used, and it needs to be active. That and grey water recycling, they're achievable things. They're things that we can do at limited cost. They don't need to destroy our food bowl, our farmers, our livelihoods, the livelihoods of country people, and for people in the city who are quite frankly a lot of the time using far too much water.
Do you think many people are opposed to recycled water?
We get the debate, and obviously when Toowoomba went through their referendum of whether or not to set up a water recycling plant, it was headline news, and it was a very hot topic. When I've been campaigning, and I guess this campaign, I seem to have received an incredible amount of really positive feedback about Greens policies, and people realise that this is something that we really have to address, and that this is an achievable outcome to save water.
Traffic, it's also kind of a big issue in Brisbane, like coming
Absolutely.
in and out of the city.
Yeah.
And you've said a light rail would help that?
Yeah, our Lord Mayoral candidate Joe Bragg launched a light rail initiative with Larissa Waters, who's our lead Senate candidate, and myself and Anne Boccabella, who was running for the Brisbane by-election. So the four of us launched the light rail initiative about 8 weeks ago, right at just the beginning of the federal campaign, which was very exciting, and we've had amazing feedback about our light rail initiative. The light rail essentially is designed to take buses off our city streets and to put people onto public transport and give the people of Brisbane a viable option to get out of their cars. And at the moment we're finding people are saying, well, I'm happy not to drive my car to work, but there's no fast, efficient, ecologically friendly, sustainable and cost-effective public transport option open to me, and this is what the light rail provides. The light rail is designed to link heavy rail systems with the city. It's designed in such a way that there are various loops and lines that will link major Brisbane areas. So QUT at St Lucia will be linked through to the Royal Brisbane, because a lot of people travel between those two areas to study and to work. And so at the moment really impossible to get any sort of cross-town bus service. You have to swap many times or catch trains. So the light rail will address that. There's been a lot of argument that light rail on the roads Brisbane roads aren't designed to have enough space to have cars and to have light rail. I guess our argument is that we're not trying to take people's cars away from them, we're trying to put them onto public transport. And if we can put people onto public transport, it's a no-brainer really that the cars come off the road.
Yeah.
So we don't really have an issue there.
And has it gotten much support from other parties?
Mixed. I think that a number of the other major parties can see the merit in it, but it's not on their priority. And I think for the major parties in Brisbane, and this goes for state, local, federal, is building roads and tunnels. And to me, it's just exacerbating the problem.